Hi, my name is Kasim Muflahi, and I've created an educational establishment called Full Employee University. I believe that education should be tailored towards employment, either as an employee or an employer. It's a one-man outfit, so I will be wearing many hats. I've written a book called Alternative Science, and I've created a series of lectures about the book. I've limited it to physics, so today I will be wearing the hat of Professor of Physics at Full Employee University. I would also welcome comments. So without further ado, let me introduce the series. The series is in 3 parts: cosmology, quantum mechanics, and relativity. A background to these goes like this. Science is a live subject, and I'll describe alternative theories for those subjects that I researched and found wanting. The world of science that I am covering is divided into the following fields: biology, chemistry, and physics. Everything else is made of a combination of these 3 subjects. However, I only researched the field of physics, my pet subject, but I didn't research all of its branches. I think that one of the best ways to study a subject is to trace its origin from the beginning of time, which is why some physicists are now studying astrophysics. Although this will be covered in the early chapters, non-astronomical subjects will be covered in later chapters. In this case, for chapters, read lectures. Because I'm introducing alternative theories of my own to current theories that I consider to be inadequate, I have to specify the assumptions and rules that govern how I arrive at the alternative theories. And these are: all matter is made of charged particles, electrons, positrons, and neutrinos. Forces cannot exist without matter. Space and time are separate, invariant, and eternal. Space is not curved and cannot be curved. Matter occupies a finite volume, i.e. no singularities. Length contraction and time dilation don't happen because of invariance. Kinetic energy and electromagnetic energy are two different types of energy. Any theory that uses 0 or infinity is invalid, e.g. photons are not massless. Kinetic energy cannot be converted to mass. Only electromagnetic energy can. Everything in the universe is made of particles, including electromagnetic energy. The last assumption is based on fact. Louis de Broglie proved that moving particles exhibit wave behavior, where their momentum is inversely proportional to the wavelength of the wave they exhibit. Hence, photons of energy are particles that exhibit wave behavior, which is an emergent phenomenon. Cosmology, origin of the universe. Abstract. The current theory of the origin of the universe is that the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which I call HUP, allows an infinitesimal amount of energy to be borrowed from nothing or the future for an infinitesimal amount of time before disappearing out of existence. Remember, out of existence, okay, not annihilating. These events are called quantum fluctuations, or QF for short. The only thing the HUP does is it allows scientists to violate the principle of conservation of energy, which incidentally is the first law of thermodynamics. Then one of these QFs experiences, that's quantum fluctuation, experiences inflation, where the infinitesimal energy inflates to a very large size, creating all the matter that will be used to build the universe we know today. This was helped by repulsive gravity and negative pressure, which remained constant as the fledgling universe inflated. These also came from nothing and for no plausible reason. It was an orgy of unjustifiable energy creation. I sound like a young creationist, don't I? Now, I'm a believer in physics, believe it or not the kind of rubbish physics they are going about. The electrons and quarks appear out of the energy, and the Higgs field appeared out of nowhere to give these massless particles mass. As the universe expanded, it cooled, which allowed the quarks to be confined within protons and neutrons. At this point, the gluons made their appearance, again from nothing, to confine the quarks. As the universe continued to expand and cool, the electrons became bound to the protons to form hydrogen atoms, which explains why hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. It was the easiest to make. With the help of neutrons, helium and lithium atoms were also formed in the ratio 75% hydrogen, 25% helium, and traces of lithium in comparison. Although the formation of neutrons in this way is plausible, the free neutron is unstable and decays within a lifetime of 15 minutes by decaying into a proton, an electron, and a neutrino. Hence, you can't really use it to make higher elements, although the possibility still exists. This poses a problem for the current scientific theory, as positrons haven't been properly introduced, just quarks. But the neutron decay depends on the weak force. Maybe the positron was produced by the W plus particle, which miraculously appeared out of nowhere to save the day. The neutrino is an anomaly for both theories, which led to the scientific community to suspect that the quarks may have a substructure. Then antimatter made an appearance without an explanation of how it came about. Cosmologists explain that antimatter is matter's mortal enemy, i.e. it annihilates matter. Somehow one matter particle survived in every billion particles. This is called the matter-antimatter asymmetry. This occurred during the afterglow period. Presumably when the QF inflated, it caused the fledgling universe to shine because it was hot. But as the energy condensed into matter, the shine began to fade. As the universe continued to expand, the product of annihilation, i.e. photons of energy, moved away from the matter universe at the speed of light, and the universe entered what cosmologists call the Dark Ages. Meanwhile, hydrogen atoms got closer and fused together with the release of energy and formed the first stars. These stars grouped themselves into galaxies and clusters of galaxies. The stars within the galaxies started the process of nucleosynthesis of elements up to iron, which is probably why iron is the most abundant element in the universe, heavier than hydrogen and helium. When stars ran out of fuel, they exploded into supernovae, where a new process began, nucleosynthesis of elements higher than iron. The evidence for the Big Bang is given as the cosmic microwave background, or CMB, radiation. Maybe it's the result of the annihilation process described above. Penzias and Wilson won a Nobel Prize in 1978 for accidentally discovering it in 1964. While they were trying to eliminate noise from one of their company's receiver. Cosmology tells us that the forces of nature were combined as one symmetrical superforce. Then one by one they broke the symmetry and separated from the superforce. The first force to separate was gravity, followed by the strong nuclear force. Finally, the weak nuclear force separated from the electromagnetic force. My version is very simple. Either energy or electrons and positrons were created at the beginning of time by whatever means. If energy was created first, then the photons split into electron-positron pairs as they still do today. If electrons collided with positrons, they would annihilate each other into photons of energy, which would split into electron-positron pairs again. However, some positrons and electrons would form protons and neutrons, thus taking the electrons and protons away from the plasma, which means there were less of them to annihilate each other. Eventually the annihilation process came to an end as the universe ran out of electrons and positron pairs. Then the formation of atoms took over. Notice that there were equal numbers of electrons and positrons, so there was no matter-antimatter asymmetry. Today, we detect electrons and positrons annihilating and higher energy photons splitting into electron-positron pairs. Pions are deemed to be parts of protons and decay into positrons or electrons depending on their charge, implying that protons and neutrons are essentially made of positrons and electrons. My theory states that the forces of nature came about one by one. Because energy is electromagnetic, the electromagnetic force came about first. Although photons have mass, gravity didn't come out next because of my definition of gravity. To give you a snippet, a brief preview. It's due to the disparity of charge densities of the nucleus and the electron shells. Hence, gravity is a manifestation of the electromagnetic force, but we'll hear more about that later. As protons and neutrons were formed, they would have caused a weaker gravitational force to come about. As protons and neutrons form nuclei and eventually atoms, a stronger form of gravity would have come into force. The strong and weak nuclear forces are simply due to nuclear bonding, which was applicable at this stage. According to my theory, there is only one force of nature, that of the electromagnetic field or force, which can be used to explain all of science, including gravity. Well, that's all for now.